The invasion begins. The Khazari warships appeared without warning, their sleek obsidian hulls blotting out the stars as they entered Earth's orbit. Admiral Zhen Lai of the United Earth Defense Force stared at the tactical display, her face a mask of stoic determination despite the growing knot of dread in her stomach. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her in the underground command center. Colonel James Harris, her second-in-command, looked up from his console, his face ashen. "It's not good, Admiral. We're detecting over 500 ships, each one larger than anything we've ever built. Our orbital defense platforms are going dark one by one." Zhen nodded, processing the information. Humanity had known they weren't alone in the universe for decades, but diplomatic efforts had been fruitless. The Khazari, an ancient and technologically superior species, had made their intentions clear. Earth would submit or be destroyed. "What about our fleet?" Zhen asked, though she already feared the answer. James shook his head. "The Apollo and Artemis battle groups are engaged, but—" He paused, swallowing hard. "Their weapons are barely scratching the Khazari shields. We've lost a third of our ships already." Zhen's fists clenched at her sides. Humanity's greatest achievements in space warfare rendered nearly useless in moments. She thought of the brave men and women fighting and dying in orbit, buying time for those on Earth with their lives. "Order all remaining ships to fall back and defend the atmosphere insertion points," Zhen commanded. "We can't win this fight in space, but we might have a chance on the ground." As her orders were relayed, the command center's main screen flickered to life. The face that appeared belonged to no human. Gray-skinned with 4 obsidian eyes and a lipless mouth, the Khazari Supreme Commander Kovacs looked down upon them with cold disdain. "People of Earth," the alien's voice boomed, translated by their systems, "your pathetic defenses have fallen. Your leaders are in disarray. Surrender now, and we may yet show mercy." Zhen stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. "This is Admiral Zhen Lai of the United Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender. Humanity will fight to its last breath." Kovacs's expression didn't change, but there was a hint of amusement in his voice. "How quaint. Your species' stubbornness is noted, but it will not save you. Prepare for your world to burn." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Zhen turned to her staff, seeing a mix of fear and determination on their faces. "You heard him," she said, her voice ringing with authority. "They think they know humanity, but they have no idea what we're capable of. Initialize Operation Sanctuary, and get me a direct line to Dr. Amelia Reyes at Nexus Base." As her orders were carried out, Zhen allowed herself a moment of grim reflection. Operation Sanctuary had been a contingency plan developed in secret, a last-ditch effort to preserve a fraction of humanity should the worst come to pass. But it was the call to Dr. Reyes that gave her a flicker of hope. Hidden beneath the icy wastes of Antarctica, Nexus Base housed Project Prometheus, humanity's ace in the hole. It was experimental, dangerous, and possibly their only chance of survival. The main screen came to life again, this time showing the tired but determined face of Dr. Amelia Reyes. Her dark hair was streaked with premature gray, a testament to the stress of her work. "Admiral," Amelia greeted, her eyes darting to the side as she took in the chaotic command center. "I take it the situation is as bad as we feared." Zhen nodded grimly. "Worse. How close is Prometheus to being operational?" Amelia hesitated, and Zhen could see the conflict in her eyes. "We've made significant progress, but it's not ready. The risks of full deployment are still—" "Doctor," Zhen interrupted, her voice soft but insistent. "I've got reports of Khazari dropships entering the atmosphere. Cities are burning. We're out of options and out of time." For a moment, there was silence. Then, Amelia's shoulders straightened, resolve hardening her features. "Understood, Admiral. We'll begin the initialization sequence. God help us all." As the communication ended, Colonel Harris approached Jen. "Ma'am, we're receiving reports from all over the globe. The Khazari are targeting major cities and military installations. Our ground forces are engaged, but—" He didn't need to finish. They both knew that conventional weapons would be as ineffective on the ground as they had been in space. "What about the civilian evacuations?" Jen asked. "Ongoing, but it's chaos out there. We're trying to get as many people to the designated sanctuary sites as possible, but with the Khazari jamming our communications, coordination is a nightmare." Jen closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to feel the weight of the millions of lives depending on her decisions. When she opened them again, they burned with determination. "Keep pushing. Every life we save is a victory." She turned to address the entire command center. "I know things look bleak. The enemy is powerful, their technology far beyond our own. But remember this, we are humanity. We've faced extinction before, from nature, from our own folly. And we've always found a way to survive, to adapt, to overcome." She paused, making eye contact with as many of her staff as possible. "The Khazari think they know us, think they can predict our actions, but they've never faced anything like humanity before. We are resourceful, we are determined, and most importantly, we are united. Every human on this planet, regardless of nation or creed, now fights for our very existence." The room was silent, all eyes fixed on their leader. Jen's voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. "We may be outgunned, but we are not beaten. Not while we still draw breath. Not while we still have the will to fight. The Khazari want our world. Then let's show them why they should have stayed in the cold depths of space. Let's show them the true strength of humanity." A cheer went up from the command staff, a defiant roar in the face of overwhelming odds. As it died down, Jen turned back to her tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. "Colonel Harris, get me in touch with any remaining military leaders worldwide. It's time we showed the Khazari that humanity doesn't go down without one hell of a fight." As the command center burst into renewed activity, Jen allowed herself one last moment of private reflection. The odds were astronomical, the enemy seemingly invincible. But deep in her gut, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't dared to feel since the invasion began. Hope. Somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice, Project Prometheus was stirring to life. And with it, perhaps, the key to humanity's survival. The Khazari thought victory was assured. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Humanity's secret weapon. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Amelia Rice stood before the pulsing heart of Project Prometheus. The vast chamber hummed with barely contained energy, banks of quantum computers lining the walls. At the center, suspended in a field of shimmering blue light, floated a sphere of swirling, iridescent material. "Begin final initialization sequence," Amelia commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Her team of scientists and engineers moved with practiced precision, their fingers flying over holographic interfaces. The hum in the room intensified, the air itself seeming to vibrate with potential. Amelia's mind raced as she watched the activation progress. Project Prometheus was the culmination of decades of secret research, a melding of reverse-engineered alien technology and humanity's own innovations. It was a weapon, yes, but so much more. A system that could rewrite the rules of physics itself. A proximity alarm blared, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Dr. Marcus Chen, Amelia's right-hand man, looked up from his station with wide eyes. "We've got incoming. Khazari dropships, at least a dozen. They must have detected the energy spike." Amelia's jaw clenched. They were so close. How long until they breached the base? Marcus consulted his displays. 20 minutes, maybe less. Our surface defenses won't hold them for long. "Then we don't have a choice," Amelia declared. "We're activating Prometheus now. Full power." A ripple of apprehension passed through the team. They all knew the risks. The simulations had shown a non-zero chance of tearing a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. But with the Khazari at their doorstep and humanity on the brink, the alternative was unthinkable. As the initialization entered its final stages, Emilia opened a secure channel to Admiral Lai. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen, lines of exhaustion etched deep. "Dr. Reyes," Jen greeted, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "Tell me you have good news." Emilia nodded grimly. "We're activating Prometheus now. Full power, no safeties. It's a risk, but it's one we have to take," Jen finished. "The Khazari have pushed into every major city. Our conventional forces are being overwhelmed. Whatever Prometheus can do, we need it now." The chamber began to shake, the ethereal sphere at its center pulsing with increasing intensity. Emilia gripped the edge of her console, her knuckles white. "Understood, Admiral. If this works, well, the Khazari are in for one hell of a surprise." As the connection closed, Emilia turned back to her team. "Brace yourselves," she warned. "We're about to make history, or end it." The next few moments stretched into an eternity. The chamber filled with blinding light, the very air seeming to tear apart around them. Emilia felt a sensation like her entire being was being unmade and remade in an instant. And then, silence. Emilia blinked, her vision slowly clearing. The sphere at the center of the room had changed, now a swirling vortex of energy that hurt to look at directly. "Status report," she barked. Marcus, looking shaken but alive, consulted his readouts. His eyes widened in disbelief. It worked. "Prometheus is online and stable. And Doctor, you're not going to believe this, but we're detecting quantum entanglement on a global scale." Before Emilia could process the implications, another alarm blared. "Khazari forces have breached the outer defenses," someone shouted. Emilia steeled herself. This was the moment of truth. "Activate the Prometheus field. Full spectrum." As the order was carried out, Emilia felt a strange sensation wash over her, like her thoughts were expanding beyond the confines of her skull. Around the room, she saw her colleagues experiencing the same thing, their eyes widening in wonder and shock. Suddenly, Emilia could see, no, feel, the entire base as if it were an extension of her own body. More than that, she could sense the Khazari invaders, their alien minds' bright points of aggression in her expanded awareness. Without fully understanding how, Emilia reached out with this new sense. She felt the others doing the same, their consciousnesses merging into a collective will. As one, they focused on the approaching Khazari. The alien invaders never knew what hit them. One moment they were storming through the base's corridors, the next their bodies simply stopped. Not dead, but frozen in time, trapped between moments. Emilia gasped, the enormity of what they'd just done crashing over her. "My God," she whispered. It actually worked. She turned to her team, seeing the same mix of awe and trepidation on their faces. "Get me Admiral Lee," she ordered. Tell her Prometheus is operational, and that the real fight starts now." Thousands of miles away, in the heart of the besieged Pentagon, Admiral Zhen Li felt a sudden, inexplicable change. The world around her seemed sharper, more vibrant, and she could have sworn she felt the presence of every person in the building. No, in the entire city. Before she could question this new sensation, a jubilant shout went up from one of her communications officers. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from all fronts. The Khazari forces have suddenly stopped advancing. They're just standing still." Zhen's mind raced. Could it be? Had Prometheus actually succeeded? As if in answer to her unspoken question, Dr. Rai's face appeared on her main screen. "Admiral," Emilia said, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Prometheus is operational. We've created a global quantum entanglement field. Every human on Earth is now part of a planet-wide neural network." Zhen felt her jaw drop, the implications staggering. "And the Khazari?" "Frozen," Emilia confirmed. "We can manipulate local space-time around them." "But Admiral, This is just the beginning. With Prometheus, we can do so much more. As Amelia explained the capabilities of their new weapon, Jen felt a surge of hope unlike anything she'd experienced since the invasion began. For the first time, humanity had a real chance. Dr. Reyes, Jen said, cutting through the scientist's excited explanations. You and your team have given us a miracle. Now let's use it to take back our planet. Over the next few hours, as the Prometheus field expanded to cover the globe, reports flooded in from every corner of the Earth. Humans everywhere were discovering newfound abilities. Telekinesis, telepathy, the power to manipulate matter and energy at a fundamental level. The Khazari, for all their advanced technology, found themselves utterly unprepared for an enemy that could rewrite the laws of physics on a whim. Their ships fell from the sky, disabled by thought alone. Their ground forces were contained in temporal bubbles, or simply disassembled at the atomic level. But it wasn't just combat where Prometheus shone. Around the world, humans were using their new abilities to repair damage, heal the wounded, and even begin undoing the environmental damage of centuries past. As the tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, Admiral Lai stood in her command center, marveling at the holographic display of Earth. Where once it had shown the inexorable advance of Khazari forces, now it pulsed with the united will of humanity. We did it, she murmured, allowing herself a moment of relief. We actually did it. But even as she celebrated this turning point, Jen knew the war was far from over. The Khazari homeworld was still out there, and they would not take this defeat lightly. Humanity had won a crucial battle, but the real test was yet to come. With newfound determination, Jen opened a channel to every military leader and government official still standing. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice ringing with authority. Today we've proven that humanity will not go quietly into the night. We've been given a second chance, a weapon beyond anything we could have imagined. Now let's use it to secure our future among the stars. As cheers erupted around her, Jen allowed herself a small smile. The Khazari had thought Earth's defeat was certain. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The counterattack. The United Nations Emergency Council chamber buzzed with an energy unlike anything in human history. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat linked not just by technology, but by the very fabric of their thoughts, courtesy of the Prometheus field. Admiral Jen Lai stood at the center, her presence commanding attention even in this unprecedented gathering. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, her voice carrying easily through the vast room. We stand at a crossroads. The Khazari invasion has been repelled, but we all know this is just the beginning. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, both vocally and mentally. The shared consciousness provided by Prometheus allowed for a level of understanding and consensus that would have been impossible mere days ago. We have two choices, Jen continued. We can focus on rebuilding, on using our new abilities to heal our world and our people. Or, she paused, her gaze sweeping the room, we can take the fight to the Khazari. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices and thoughts. Some advocated for caution, for consolidating their newfound power. Others pushed for immediate retaliation, arguing that they needed to strike while they had the advantage. Dr. Amelia Reyes, seated near the front, stood up. The room quieted as she spoke. The Prometheus field is stable and expanding. We're learning more about its capabilities every hour. But we need to understand, this power, as vast as it is, isn't unlimited. The further we extend from Earth, the weaker our connection becomes. Jen nodded, acknowledging the limitation. Which means if we're going to strike, we need to do it soon, before the Khazari can regroup and develop countermeasures. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing the known expanse of Khazari-controlled space. It was vast, spanning several star systems. Our long-range scans, enhanced by Prometheus, have identified their homeworld, Jen explained, highlighting a planet near the center of the Khazari Empire. If we can strike there, We might be able to end this war before it truly begins. The council debated furiously, minds and voices weaving together in a tapestry of argument and counterargument. But as the hours passed, a consensus began to form. Humanity, for so long on the defensive, would take the fight to the stars. Over the next weeks, Earth became a hive of activity. The Prometheus field allowed for unprecedented cooperation and innovation. Shipyards that had been destroyed in the initial invasion were rebuilt in days, new vessels taking shape at impossible speeds as engineers wielded matter itself with their thoughts. These weren't mere spaceships, but extensions of human will made manifest. Sleek and organic, they pulsed with the same ethereal energy as the Prometheus sphere itself, a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. At the heart of this armada was the flagship, Humanity's Hope, a vessel that dwarfed even the largest Khazari warships. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent sheen, surfaces shifting and reforming as if alive. On the eve of launch, Admiral Lai stood on the bridge of Humanity's Hope, surveying her crew. Each person there was connected not just to each other, but to every human back on Earth. They carried with them the hopes, fears, and determination of an entire species. "We've come a long way in a short time," Jen addressed them, her words resonating both audibly and mentally. "A month ago, we were on the brink of extinction. Today, we stand ready to challenge the very stars themselves." She paused, letting her gaze meet each crew member. "But let us not forget the weight of what we carry. We go not just to defend our world, but to forge a new path for humanity among the cosmos. We must be not just warriors, but diplomats. Not just conquerors, but explorers." As Jen spoke, she felt the collective resolve of her crew, of all humanity, solidify. They were ready. "Helm," she commanded, "set course for the Khazari homeworld. It's time we introduced ourselves properly to the galaxy." With a thought, the fleet engaged their drives. Space itself seemed to bend around them as they accelerated to speeds that defied conventional physics. The journey that should have taken years would be completed in mere days. As Earth faded from view, Jen felt a moment of vertigo. The further they traveled from the birthplace of Prometheus, the more tenuous their connection became. But it held, a lifeline stretching across the void. The first challenge came 3 days into their journey. A Khazari patrol fleet, likely searching for survivors of the Earth invasion force, appeared on their sensors. "Battle stations," Jen ordered, more out of habit than necessity. In truth, every member of the crew was already aware, their shared consciousness allowing for instant reaction. The Khazari ships, so terrifying just weeks ago, now seemed almost quaint. Before they could even bring their weapons to bear, the human fleet reached out with their collective will. Reality warped around the alien vessels. Some simply vanished, shunted into pocket dimensions. Others found their weapons systems transmuted into harmless light displays. A few, caught in temporal distortions, seemed to age centuries in moments, their hulls corroding and crumbling. In less than a minute, the skirmish was over. Not a single human ship had fired a conventional weapon. As they left the drifting remnants of the Khazari patrol behind, Jen felt a mix of exhilaration and unease ripple through the crew's shared consciousness. They had won easily, too easily, perhaps. "Stay focused," she reminded them, her thoughts reaching every mind in the fleet. This was just a taste of what's to come. The real battle lies ahead. As if in response to her words, a priority communication came through from Earth. Dr. Raya's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression grave. "Admiral," she began without preamble, "we've detected a massive energy surge from the direction of the Khazari homeworld. It appears they're attempting to replicate Prometheus." Jen felt a chill run down her spine. "Can they succeed?" Emilia shook her head. "Not fully, not without understanding the quantum principles we've unlocked. But even a partial replication could level the playing field." "Understood," Jen replied, her mind already racing through tactical possibilities. "We'll accelerate our approach. Keep us updated on any developments." As the communication ended, Jen turned her attention back to the vastness of space before them. The easy victory against the patrol fleet now felt like a distant memory. The real test was yet to come. "All ships," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "prepare for maximum acceleration. We need to reach the Khazari homeworld before they can finish their countermeasure." As the fleet surged forward, pushing the limits of their new technology, Jen allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had come so far, achieved so much. But the greatest challenge still lay ahead. The fate of Earth, of humanity itself, would be decided in the crucible of an alien star system. And Jen was determined to ensure that when the dust settled, it would be humanity that emerged victorious. Alien desperation. The Khazari homeworld, Genthar, hung in space like a malevolent jewel. Its atmosphere swirled with ominous purples and greens, punctuated by flashes of energy that spoke of frantic activity on the surface. Admiral Jen Lai stood on the bridge of humanity's hope, her mind linked with every ship in the fleet as they approached the alien system. The Prometheus field hummed around them, weaker now at this distance from Earth, but still a formidable force. "Status report," Jen commanded, her thoughts echoing through the collective consciousness of her crew. Captain Maya Rodriguez, Jen's second-in-command, responded instantly. "The Khazari have detected our approach. Their orbital defenses are activating, and we're picking up signs of a massive energy buildup on the planet's surface." Jen nodded grimly. "Their Prometheus replica. How close are they to activation?" Dr. Amelia Reyes, linked in from her lab on Earth, provided the answer. "Based on our readings, they're at about 60% of full power. If they reach 100%, our advantage could be nullified." "Then we don't let them reach 100%, Jen declared. "All ships prepare for engagement. Priority target is their Prometheus facility." As the human fleet moved into attack formation, the space around Genthar erupted with activity. Thousands of Khazari ships rose to meet them, their hulls bristling with weapons that could shatter planets. But humanity was no longer the technologically inferior species they had been just weeks ago. As the Khazari opened fire, the human ships simply shifted. Space itself seemed to bend around them, incoming fire passing harmlessly through the voids where ships had been moments before. Jen felt a surge of collective focus from her fleet. They didn't need to be told what to do. As one, they reached out with their Prometheus-enhanced abilities. Khazari ships found their weapon systems suddenly transmuted into harmless light displays. Others were caught in localized time dilation fields, their crews experiencing years in the span of seconds. Some simply vanished, shunted into pocket dimensions. But the Khazari were not going down without a fight. As their ships fell, the aliens unleashed a barrage of exotic weaponry. Antimatter torpedoes, gravity lenses, and weapons that defied easy classification streaked towards the human fleet. Jen gritted her teeth as she felt the strain on the Prometheus field. They were so far from Earth, and the constant use of their abilities was taking its toll. "Push through," she commanded. "We need to reach the surface." As the space battle raged, a select group of ships, led by humanity's hope, broke through the Khazari lines. They plunged into the roiling atmosphere of Genthar, their hulls glowing with the strain of entry. On the planet's surface, Supreme Commander Kovacs watched the approaching human ships with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How had these primitives, these insects, turned the tide so quickly? "Status of the Prometheus replica," he demanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the swirling energy contained within their version of the device. A subordinate, voice quavering, responded, 85% and climbing. "Supreme Commander, but at this rate, the humans will reach us before." Kovacs cut him off with a snarl. "Divert all power to the device. Strip it from life support if you have to. We cannot allow them to." His words were drowned out by a deafening roar as the ceiling of the vast chamber simply disappeared. Hovering above them was humanity's hope, its hull shimmering with barely contained energy. Admiral Jen Li's voice boomed across the chamber. both audibly and mentally. Supreme Commander Kvax, your invasion of Earth has failed. Your fleet lies in ruins. Surrender now, and we can end this without further bloodshed. Kvax's response was to lash out mentally, his own nascent Prometheus-like abilities clashing against the humans' defenses. For a moment, the air itself seemed to crystallize with the strain of opposing wills. Jen staggered under the assault but held firm. Around her, she felt the minds of her crew, of all humanity, lending her strength. With a thought, she shattered Kvax's attack. The Khazari leader fell to his knees, ichor seeping from his eyes and ears. "Impossible," he rasped. "We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We cannot be defeated by those you considered prey." Jen finished for him. She descended from humanity's hope, her feet touching alien soil for the first time. "That was your mistake, Kvax. You saw us as simple conquests. You never considered that we might be equals, or more." As Jen spoke, the rest of the human forces secured the Khazari capital. Their Prometheus replica was dismantled with a thought, its energies safely dispersed. Kvax, broken and defeated, looked up at Jen with a mix of fear and awe. What are you going to do with us?" Jen paused, feeling the weight of all humanity's hopes and fears in that moment. It would be easy, so easy, to simply erase the Khazari from existence, to ensure they could never threaten Earth again. But that wasn't why they had come. That wasn't the future humanity had fought for. "We're going to talk," Jen said finally. "We're going to learn from each other. And together, we're going to forge a new path for both our species." As the words left her mouth, Jen felt a ripple of agreement flow through the Prometheus field. Back on Earth, in ships throughout the fleet, humans nodded in approval. This was not a moment for vengeance, but for growth. The Khazari, those ancient terrors of the galaxy, had finally met their match. But in doing so, they had also found something they never expected, a potential ally. As the sun set on Genthar, casting an alien glow across the landscape, Jen allowed herself a small smile. The war was over. The real work, the shaping of a new galactic order, was just beginning. And humanity, once on the brink of extinction, now stood ready to lead the way. Victory and aftermath. The great hall of the Galactic Concord buzzed with an energy unlike anything seen in millennia. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the chamber, their forms as diverse as the stars themselves. At the center of it all stood two figures, Admiral Jen Lai of Earth and Supreme Commander Kvax of the Khazari. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Genthar. 5 years of monumental change for both species. The signing of the Earth-Khazari Accord was about to usher in a new era of cooperation and shared progress. Jen, her hair now streaked with gray, stepped forward to address the assembly. The Prometheus field, now a permanent fixture of human civilization, allowed her words to resonate not just audibly, but on a deeper, almost spiritual level with all present. "Esteemed delegates," she began, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. "We stand here today not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals. 5 years ago, our two species stood on the brink of mutual destruction. Today, we come together to build a future that neither of us could have imagined alone." Kvax, his once imperious bearing now tempered with humility, nodded in agreement. "The Khazari have ruled the stars for eons," he added, his translator conveying the complex harmonics of his native speech. "We thought we had seen all that the universe had to offer. Humanity proved us gloriously wrong." A ripple of agreement passed through the assembled delegates. The story of Earth's transformation from a technologically inferior world to a cosmic powerhouse had spread rapidly, reshaping the political landscape of the galaxy. Jen continued, "The Prometheus technology, born from the fusion of human ingenuity and Khazari artifacts, has opened doors we never knew existed. But with great power comes great responsibility." She gestured to the holographic display hovering above the assembly. It showed the current extent of the Prometheus field, a shimmering network that now encompassed not just Earth, but a growing number of worlds. We've learned that the field can be extended, shared with other species, Jen explained. But it requires trust, cooperation, and a willingness to be truly connected. Today, we invite all peaceful worlds to join this network, to become part of something greater than themselves. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices and thoughts. Some delegates expressed enthusiasm, others caution, and a few outright skepticism. But underlying it all was a sense of wonder at the possibilities this new technology presented. As the discussion unfolded, Dr. Emilia Reyes, now head of the Interstellar Prometheus Initiative, stepped forward to address some of the technical concerns. The beauty of the Prometheus field, she explained, her eyes shining with the passion of scientific discovery, is that it adapts to each species uniquely. For humans, it manifested as a form of collective consciousness and matter manipulation. For the Khazari, it enhanced their natural telepathic abilities and allowed for unprecedented control over energy states. She paused, letting her gaze sweep the room. We believe that for each species that joins the network, new and unique abilities will manifest. The potential for growth, for discovery, is limitless. As Emilia spoke, Jen felt a familiar presence brush against her mind. She turned to see Captain Maya Rodriguez, now commander of Earth's first deep space exploration vessel, entering the chamber. Maya's thoughts connected seamlessly with Jen's through the Prometheus field. "Admiral," she communicated silently, "we've made contact with the entity at the galactic core. It's beyond anything we imagined." Jen managed to keep her external composure, but internally her mind raced. The entity at the galactic core had been theoretical, a mystery that had puzzled the Khazari for millennia. That humanity had made contact so quickly was yet another testament to the power of Prometheus. "Understood," Jen replied mentally. "We'll discuss this after the assembly. This could change everything." Again, turning her attention back to the ongoing debate, Jen raised her hand for silence. The chamber quieted, all eyes turning to her. "Friends, allies, fellow seekers of knowledge," she began, her voice carrying the weight of the momentous changes humanity had undergone. "What we offer today is not just technology, not just power. It's a new way of existence, a chance to transcend the boundaries that have defined us, to reach for something greater." She paused, feeling the collective anticipation of the assembly. There will be challenges ahead, questions of identity, of individuality versus collective consciousness, ethical dilemmas we can scarcely imagine. But I believe that together we can navigate these waters. Kavak stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Jen. The sight of the once bitter enemies now united sent a powerful message. The Khazari were wrong about humanity, Kavak admitted, his voice carrying a note of genuine humility. "We saw them as primitive, as prey. Instead, they have become our greatest teachers. They have shown us that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation." As Kavak spoke, Jen felt a surge of emotion through the Prometheus field. Back on Earth, billions of humans watched the proceedings, their collective consciousness, a symphony of hope, pride, and determination. "The choice before us is simple," Jen concluded. "We can cling to the old ways, to isolation and conflict, or we can embrace a future of unity, of shared consciousness and purpose, a future where the boundaries between species fade, and we face the mysteries of the universe as one." She raised her hand, palm outward in a gesture of invitation. "Who among you will join us on this journey?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, delegates began to step forward. Species that had been bitter enemies for generations now stood side by side, united in their desire to be part of something greater. As the assembly transformed into a celebration of new alliances and shared visions, Jen allowed herself a moment of reflection. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges they could scarcely imagine. The entity at the galactic core was just the beginning. But as she felt the pulse of humanity's collective consciousness, the determination and wonder of billions flowing through her, Jen knew one thing for certain. Whatever the universe had in store, they would face it together. The age of division was over. The age of unity had begun. And humanity, once on the brink of extinction, now stood at the forefront of a cosmic revolution. As the celebrations continued around her, Jen's gaze drifted to the stars visible through the great hall's transparent dome. Out there, countless mysteries awaited. And for the first time in history, life in the galaxy was truly united to face them. The future, vast and unknowable, beckoned, and humanity, along with their new allies, was ready to answer its call.